All right, should be live. Let's go ahead and make sure that we're all rocking and rolling through here, making sure we're all live here. Eventually, maybe, hopefully, at some point. I do believe we're live. Seems like it. And sure sounds like it. Let me go ahead and mute that. Just got a DM Discord here. DM on the cord. What's going on here? Why did it go twice? That's really odd. I don't know why it viewed going twice on Discord there. That's very odd, very odd. Anywho, obviously I'm back. I was at DreamHack Dallas last weekend, so I apologize, but hope everybody did well. At least last week, all the lives I did, without any practice or really anything like that, like just building stands, did really, really good. Especially the Sundays one as well. And I even hopped in Discord and just basically, just said that I liked, William Byron to lead the most amount of laps. I like Chastain, and we got fairly lucky. I had both Blaney and Hocevar. I know nearly most of the field had Hocevar and stuff, but I still cast way past Min and literally everything I had with the one line. So I was very happy about that. Sorry, I'm kind of killing time as I bring stuff up on the screen over here. We are a grand total of an hour and 60 minutes away from the start of this slate. Let me go ahead and get all this on the screen for you. Week's been pretty good so far. I've come really, really close to having the optimal lineup in a lot of the NBA Showdown contests, and won the Counter-Strike slate yesterday. I do want to just obviously we're looking at the subscriptions right fast. I do want to check one thing really fast. I've been playing more and more on FanDuel just to get. I think the play is slightly softer on FanDuel, at least from what I've heard from a lot of my friends and stuff. But specifically, I just want to point out that this contest is not going to fill in 5 minutes. If it fills, it's a 21 percent payout structure. I don't know what it's probably going to end up being, but I know it's going to not be there. And I went in through 55 lineups in there, just letting people know that contest is going to have overlay before we get going on to today. As we look through, obviously, if you want to join us, if you like any of the work that Bobby, the Sheets, Rody, Goldie, any of us, any of the stuff we're doing here, on top of having a partnership with SaberSim and PayDirt Intuitive Analytics, you can get all of that through any of these subscriptions here. If you just want the NASCAR stuff, it's $40. I highly encourage you to just upgrade and buy one of these packages. If you want to use any of the tools, projections, or sites basically included in our stuff, since you have both SaberSim and PayDirt as well. As we look through this race here, obviously, not going to go behind the paywall on this video just because I missed last week. I gave everybody a heads up on that, but and I don't think many people will end up watching this outside of the normal 50, 80 something people. What's going on, Ross? What's going on, Miami? As we look at this race here, now obviously we did not have qualifying because it got rained out. We do have practice. We'll go over that practice data very quickly. If you want to view any of this stuff on your own accord, or you want to look at things in more detail, obviously you can get the subscription. Get the subscription and do it yourself there. So I'm not going to be zooming in on this one here just because we're going over quite a lot. When we look at the last 4 Nashville races, now we have had qualifying in all these races, okay? The other thing to note in this race is, now if I want to go ahead and get racing reference on here just to visualize one more thing. In my head, where I'm at, I think of the race that Ryan Preece won. I think of the race that Hocevar won. I think of Nashville, like Kansas, like Las Vegas. Okay, we see a lot of chaos at the tighter racetracks, Texas, and so on and so forth. But when I think of Nashville, I think of a race that is going to end on a green flag run that has the potential of ending with or not a green flag, or yes, with a green flag run, but more specifically a green flag pit stop. So when we're looking over here, and yet again, I'm going to bring up racing reference really fast to just look through the runs of where the laps are at. and stuff. Yet again, we only have where are we at? We got an hour and 13 minutes until the slate locks. But we look at the races from 2024 to 2021. The amount of green flag laps in these races were 108, 107, 107, and 121. The amount of cautions in these races were 7, 7, 8, and 5. The amount of lead lap cars at the end were 20, 18, 26, and 29. Crash DNFs were 2, 3, 5, and 1. Mechanical DNFs 2, 2, or 2, 1, 1, 1. So on the outside looking in, just looking at this data set or this data point, it seems to be that the Nashville truck races are not very volatile and they should go green. What I view that as is people should finish where they deserve to finish. We're going to be going backwards, forwards here. So starting in 2021, I'm just looking at the amount of green flag laps in the end of the race. This was 33. We had 2 yellows in that stage, and in stage 3, and it was right off of consecutive restarts. We look at 2022. We have 1, 2, 3. What the hell? We just wasted laps under yellow here. 7 laps under yellow. That's egregious. That's kind of crazy. So 3 yellows here with a 10-lap run to end it there. That's crazy. The end of the stage was 97. 2023 into stage 1. Obviously, we have a stage end under a natural caution. 3-lap shootout and a 31-lap shootout before these guys wrecked with 2 to go. So far, my memory is not serving me correctly at all here. Last year, 32 laps led. Okay, so we're not seeing a green flag pit stop during the last stage, which I thought would be the case. But yet again, that's why I like to, or that's that's why we're going over stuff. We look at the dominator analysis of your lap leaders in this race, and yet again, this is when we look at, yet again, you can always go to about. You can always go to the about tab, and it'll show you why certain tracks are being used under certain tabs and why other ones aren't, whatever the case may be. But this is looking at similar tracks in terms of contests, DraftKings points available, so 150 laps at places like Nashville, Darlington, Phoenix. God, I just forgot the name of this stupid ass Gateway at this track. So this is just to show, or using the data sets for contests that are similar, you can see where fast laps and stuff are going for. When we look at the Nashville races here, which are these here, we go ahead and look at the amount of laps led that people are getting in these races. Okay, and so we have in 2024, which was, I just X'd out of it. Let me bring that right back up to make sure. Gotta check one thing. And yet again, just checking, because I see here it's like, man, 150 laps led. Kind of not even fishy, but like, hey, is the data correct? Yeah, it's correct. Okay, so Chandler Smith started first, finished, started third, took the lead on lap 1, and then led 150 laps. Okay, yet again, just going through this and like, hey, anything out there already know. So we see 150 laps led, 74, 70, 40, 48, 39, 37, 11, 48, and 37 for your lap leaders here. Now, this is including both the primary and secondary lap leader in order to get an idea of what projections should ideally look like and what projections we should be kind of working with for an individual contest. Yet again, at this point, we have an hour and 9 minutes until the slate locks. When we're looking at the starting grid today, obviously it was rained out, or we didn't do Q, we just did practice and stuff. You see Cory Heim on the pole. You see Cory Heim drastically faster than the rest of the field. When we look at where this man has been at in 2025 performance, you look at the driver speed rank, and it's just literally Cory Heim by himself on a complete island. This is very similar to the recent form that I use for the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. Although Xfinity Series, with the amount of volatility we have, it's hard for me to use that data point, but I mainly use it for the Cup Series. Anyway, we see Cory Heim just like drastically faster than the field. We look at where he's at in terms of laps led. Yet again, thank you, Emily Distributed, for having the data, because I was busy dealing with apartment stuff today during practice with everything being moved around. And we just look at the lap times that Cory Heim is running here. And I mean, he is literally in a different county of speed here. And I mean, even when he's going out and making adjustments at the end of his run, the fact that he goes 31 laps and is still just the fastest guy on the track, it's not even close of how far ahead Cory Heim is compared to the rest of the field. So, based on where we have been at this year in the performance metrics, looking at tracks this year, when we look at where he has been at, or where they've been at Nashville, where he's been at in practice, and the fact that he's 31st out, it's a mechanical failure or them fucking up on pit lane or him speeding. Outside of that, he should be your primary lap leader. Okay. The fact that we're getting this drastically faster than the field on all of these metrics, okay, that indicates, or that would lean to me of a projection falling anywhere between the norm of, which is right here, the norm of, obviously we've seen somebody lead every lap of the race. Don't Very unlikely that's going to happen, but we see, I would lean to very much on the high end of your main lap leaders that we've seen previously, and that would indicate probably 66% of the race being led, anywhere from probably 70 to like 89, 95, 99 laps led. That should be the expected projection for Cory Heim. Compared with that, or added to that, the amount of fast laps. Now that's really interesting because yet again we've had quite a lot. We've had more yellows than I initially thought, because when we're looking at the amount of, we look at 7 and 8 yellows in these races, but we're not really seeing a lot of DNFs and not a lot of mechanical failures. That means we're having a lot of spins, and it's not necessarily taking people out of the race. We're just, running a lot of laps under the yellow flag. And so we look at 29, 41, 34, 25, 12, 16, 5, 29, 5, 15 fast laps and stuff. So fast laps should be spread out, and your main lap leader shouldn't be, having like, a 1-to-1, a 2-to-1, or a 3-to-1. I would envision more of a 4-to-1 ratio, unless this race goes green and he's truly able to just run away with the race. If the projection is, if a reasonable projection of Cory Heim is like 72, 75 laps led, the range, or his range of fast laps should be anywhere from like 48 to like 36 or whatever. If you get him to win the race and whatnot, or project him for that, you're right around like 84 points. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with at his price tag and stuff. We're just talking Cory Heim because that's like the most important part, because obviously he's the big favorite. He's determining what goes on. I lean towards Cory Heim being used. Yet again, we'll look at what the different projection sources are indicating that you can use here at TrueDFS. But that's kind of like my main point, or my range or idea of where I'm choosing to go with the projection of Cory Heim. Anyway, we look at place differential, and when I'm bringing this up, but mainly because since we're working off of the metric and stuff, we have guys who are expected to finish up front in this race starting the back of the field. Okay. And we'll talk about, Freeze and his engine. We'll talk about Majeski. We'll talk about Chandler Smith, even Lane Riggs, having his tire cord or whatever. But when we look at the 2025 performance, okay, and we look here, who are the people who have had the most amount of speed this year at similar tracks? Okay. Obviously, Cory Heim, Lane Riggs, Kyle Busch. Hey, Chandler Smith is number 4 here, starting in the back of the field. Probably going to want to play him. Obviously, we see Kane Honeycutt, Enfinger, Tyler Ankrum, Friesen, although Friesen is kind of a different range. He's starting more front, but he's really, really cheap today. Ty Majeski has had a lot of issues this year that aren't necessarily his fault. He's been involved in wrecks early, and just like, truly, truly bad luck. But when he's actually running in these races where we would expect him to be, a top 6 contender, by default or whatever. And so when we're looking at the other people in this field that are starting in the back of the field and that are expecting to drive up through the field, I mean, Majeski starting 26. We have Chandler Smith at 23rd. These are 2 individuals that we would expect to finish in the top 10 based on speed alone. And yet again, I'm just speaking through this of how you should be looking at this race, or, obviously going from most obvious to where else are we going, to how the field is constructing, to what lineup should be playing, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, continuing on. We look at the DK scoring ranges. This is really the last thing I'm going to touch on here. Yet again, I would advise you to look through all of these tabs if you are a subscriber. I know a lot of people who are really, really enjoy this tab, but specifically, yet again, we're trying to basically get the top 6 scores on a slate, and especially when we're coming off of a qualifying grid based off of a previous race, it's usually much more easier to try and fit in the top 6 or 7 scorers. Obviously, if we're just looking at the top, or how do you become a top 10 scorer and whatnot, we need to be scoring right around 42 points. Okay, and this is just where we've been at. Um, at similar contests and stuff, we're looking right around low 40s, if not mid 40s, to be a top 10 scorer in this race. And so that is what I would use to dictate who are you using to build your lineups. Can they score 40 points? Okay, that's the main question that we need to ask here. Lastly, before we move on to the SaberSim and construction portion of this, and yet again, this is what I typically do um, and the paywall shows with people. And I also do coaching. Like if you reach out to me, we can very easily find a time during the week for us to go through either your approach or whatever you want to do. Right. When we're looking at where we're at here, I mean, literally everybody really outside of Friesen. Obviously, he lost the cylinder. Lane Riggs had a tire cord. We're not really focusing on Luke as a primary play. Obviously, he's more of a value, but we don't necessarily need to see a lot of laps out of Luke, especially with where he's been at this year. Like, this necessarily wouldn't concern me because our player pool is so small. But for the most part, everybody, pretty much ran over 35 laps. Like, everybody has a good idea of what their car is going to have, and we certainly have an idea of what their car is going to have. I would be very, very hesitant on playing anybody really in this range, like Matt Mills, for example. The reason I'm bringing him up, yet again, when we start thinking about, where we're going for a lineup today, the fact that I think Cory Heim is going to be scoring near 80 points, obviously, I think he's going to be needed. Obviously, if he wins this race, I mean, he is the favorite. Like, you don't even need a sports book to tell you that. You can just see where he's at in terms of speed this year alone. But I would be very, very hesitant on really chasing people in this range on average. And yet again, this is on averages and stuff. It's not including the slow laps here. But I would be very, very hesitant on focusing on guys who are this slow in practice, because this is typically where they finish. I mean, you see all the Reum brothers here, all the guys who just lack talent, so on and so forth. Like, there's really no shocking people down here. We have a pretty small field today, only 32 cars, and so like these are truly your like bottom 8-9 guys, whatever, an hour away from the slate. Just give you guys a heads up and stuff. So what I want to go ahead and start with is, now yet again, I haven't played or I haven't built any lines. I don't know which ones I'm doing yet, but this is a situation where we might be in a very, very what is it? A very chalky type of build here. And so what I want to do first is look at what SaberSim is that'll be the flagship. I want to see what SaberSim is using or recommending people to build. Okay, and why do we do this? Okay, multiple reasons why. One, it gives us a baseline. At least when I'm speaking about this, gives us a baseline of a projection set that would be very close to what the industry will be doing. Okay, yet again, I'm not involved with SaberSim outside of this partnership at TrueDFS. Like, I have no input on what they do here. Okay, so I like it because it's a data set that I have no input in. Two, a lot of people use SaberSim. Whether you see people with us, Run Pure, Ship It Nation, just SaberSim users or whatever, SaberSim has overtaken Roto HQ, Fantasy Cruncher, all the other, like these guys are the top tool for sims, optimizers, whatever the case may be. So a good portion of the DFS field that you actually give a shit about competing against is using SaberSim. So this gives us an idea of what we could potentially be run into, or what that is being given out in terms of lineups and stuff, lineup construction, and we're getting an idea of what the general public can be doing. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and just run that. I'm going to go to two people who I know for a fact I'm not playing. That's going to be, we're just going to move Tyler down one, and we're going to probably move, we use Frankie, or we'll move Frankie down again. And we're going to go ahead and build here and see what we're doing here. Now, we're not necessarily going to look at what the Sims are saying, I want to see, right off the bat of where these lineups are falling in terms of highest projections first. Okay, yet again, I'm going to sort by, we're going to use the top 1,500 because I want to see the exposure rates of these builds and see where they're going here. We could go ahead and just run the sims to see potentially what they're pushing and stuff here, but we're going to use this to see, what the field is going to do. Okay, and what I think this does is sidesteps or navigates potentially any good or bad, or any variances in projected ownership. We can just see what builds are using, right? Okay, so first and foremost, I want to just look at the projected score. And so what are we at here? Cory Heim, Chandler Smith, Ty Majeski, the highest played or the highest combination drivers in the top 1,500 SaberSim lineups. Okay, so we have a 12-7, 9-7, and 8-7 potentially being in these. And just right off the bat on the first two, we see them, we see these three together. We see these three together. We're probably going to see a good portion of these three drivers being used in this projection set based on, highest projection. Past that, we see the 7K and 6K range, obviously, because we're paying up for so many expensive guys, be the next group of higher owned guys and stuff. So obviously Tanner Gray, who has shown very, very decent speed in practice, or not in practice, in these races and stuff. Quick side note, pretty much in every race this year, I've tried to be overweight on Tanner Gray. I've tried to be overweight on Grant Enfinger. I've tried to be overweight on Stuart Friesen. Now, in those situations, they have usually, or all of them, have been under queuing or underperforming in qualifying. So we get a little bit of more place differential baked into those guys this year. In this race, obviously, Enfinger starting up front, Friesen starting 13th, and so on and so forth here. But I am not concerned about what Tanner Gray is going to do because he has a top 6 car in terms of speed. Just is he going to, survive the race or whatever? I'm just looking through this really fast to see kind of what they're doing here. Yet again, Friesen lost the cylinder. They got 2.5 hours to change a vehicle or to change a motor. I mean, this is last time I checked, this is the professionals. Any professionals worth their salt can easily get that done in 2 hours. Okay, if it's you, me, and your pawpaw in a garage, and it's gonna take us fucking 6 days just to get the stupid fucking engine lift even, so we don't yank out, so we don't yank shit off the fucking frame. But these guys know what they're doing, right? So it shouldn't be I would not be concerned about them not getting that done as long as Friesen fires on the pit lane. Because they've already turned the vehicle on in the garage. As long as he's rolling out of the pit lane at the start of the race, I will not be concerned about Friesen. Mainly because if we're expecting to pay up for so many people, we're going to be very heavy in the 7K range and in the value range today and stuff here. Yet again, I'm looking through, just kind of seeing where we're at here. Yet again, now this is the third highest SaberSim projected line. We're really punting with AO starting 32nd at 5K. I usually, when stuff is indicating to potentially punt, I usually default to what my stuff says versus what a mean average or a mean projection sort says. But it seems like we're at least punting in one regard here, even with me lowering Tyler and Frankie here. So it seems like just on their stuff alone, paying up for the three guys and then staying in the 7K range seems to be the where it wants to go. I want to see what this thing changes once we look at the cash rate, which I think is a much better indication of high potential scoring lineups. Specifically in NASCAR, you can kind of get around of whatever. We're not going to go in that whole fucking rant about issues or whatever, right? When we're looking here, yet again, nothing is really changing here. Yet again, very, very similar type of exposure rates between these top three guys, and then we're kind of all around the value range, just seeing what is going on here. I do want to see what has been recommended in the raw ROI, not raw as in that, but I just want to see what they're saying. And even here, I mean, it's still leaning Cory Heim. Obviously, we had a Lane Riggs here, but it's still leaning very heavily Cory Heim and stuff like that. And yet again, this is just one projection source, but seems to be a very, very chalky type of build. What I want to do next is go ahead and use mine. I don't think I'm going to use Sheets on this one. I typically use his on in the paywall shows, but I'm not gonna worry about it here. These are my projections here. Yet again, as we look through on how I look at everything, this is kind of where we're at. Yet again, the magic number, we're 53 minutes away from lock. Just giving a heads up to anybody. The magic number that we're looking for is anybody who could realistically score his 40s, if not mid 40s, in this type of race. Okay, and so yet again, I just use one number as my projection set or as my projection, but we can very easily see, kind of the same situation here of Cory Heim, Chandler Smith, Ty Majeski being expected to be competing for a top three DraftKings score, that is, in these situations here. We then see Kyle Busch. We then see, people like Lane Riggs could potentially lead laps here, but yet again, nobody. I saw that Lane Corey tire. Literally nobody. At least an hour before I started this, or right before I started, like literally nobody was talking about Lane Riggs on Twitter at all. So I have no idea if he's going to be starting third, going to the rear, whatever the case may be. But what I mainly want to focus on is a lot of these guys in the 40s, right? And so like Corey Day, actually these guys aren't in the 40s, but like Corey Day, Bailey Curry, we would expect them to lose positions in this race based on who's behind them, based on where they should finish. Same thing with Matt Mills, William Sawalas, Luke, Connor Mozak, and stuff like that. And so yet again, I ran my stuff, but I haven't looked through, is my stuff might be way more heavy in the 6K, like potentially 2 to 3 guys in the 6K, 2 to 3, two guys in the 6K, 7K, whatever the case may be. But I don't necessarily know if I want to be punting at the bottom here. Yet again, we have had a lot of yellows, okay, in these races, but we haven't had a lot of mechanical DNFs. We haven't had a lot of true DNFs from here, and it's just really, really hard for me to envision AO, Clayton, Tony, these guys really scoring more than like 4 points within like this data set of where we're at, 23, 20, 24, 18, 15 as a projection set. But when I'm looking at here are my stuff, so obviously, Cory Heim, Ty Majeski, Chandler Smith, it's clearly all the same compared to what, SaberSim is saying. If my stuff's saying that, if SaberSim stuff is saying that, there's a good chance that other sites are indicating or builds are going in that direction as well. And so as I continue to go through, yet again, Tanner Gray is up here on my end, but Stuart Friesen slightly higher. I see Andre slightly higher and stuff, but I'm not really seeing my stuff want to punt nearly as much as SaberSims is doing. You can see that at this point, I'm not playing Lane Riggs. I'm not playing Kyle Busch. I'm not playing Enfinger. I just think these guys are starting a little bit too high up. And yet again, I'm expecting Cory Heim to run away with this race. Yet again, due to all the data sets that we've been looking at here, as I look through, and yet again, I'm this, in a situation like this. Okay, so like this is my highest projected line. If you're using my projections, yet again, is this, giving a lineup away? I don't even know if I'm going to end up playing this lineup, okay, because this is a very chalky type of lineup. Obviously, we have subscribers on TrueDFS. Obviously, you're watching right now. You can see this line. This is a contest of, do you A, decide to just be in trains with people? Do you B, try and get different? But then how different? Is it B 1.0 of like, let me do a 1v1 on one guy? Is it B 2.0 to where, hey, I'm just going to take the fucking lowest owned dude who can't lose me any points to just try and be unique? At what point do you start chasing uniqueness at an expense of ROI or at the expense of, potential of you winning a contest or whatever? Now, I'm not going to go through because I'm fairly certain that the lines that I play will probably come from my top 25 projection, but I probably won't be the first two. But as you're seeing, my stuff is not wanting to punt nearly as much as SaberSim stuff was doing. Okay. Yet again, as like we build and stuff, or maybe not even build, but as we look at this slate and continue onward and stuff. Yet again, are you choosing to go with what is being shown between different data sets of, hey, Cory Heim probably going to score pretty well, probably going to be your highest scorer. Hey, Chandler Smith, the guy who is won races this year. The guy who's been really really fast, and even dealing with the adversity of everything that happened publicly with him, the fact that like literally hasn't shook him at all. I mean that says a lot about how mentally strong Chandler Smith is and stuff. Um, Same thing with Ty Majeski. Like I think your main choices in a contest like this is to use these three drivers, Corey Heim, Ty Majeski, and Chandler Smith, and do 1v1s or 3v3s or whatever the fuck you want to do with your main three guys. Okay. I think that would be the first approach that I do. After that, getting different, I think I would give up Majeski before Chandler Smith, just because Chandler Smith has probably more second place equity than Ty Majeski. I think heads up between these guys. Now Majeski's cheaper and he's starting, three positions farther back, and that $1,000 might be needed, or you might find directions where you want to go. But yet again, I don't really like the punt range in this race. So I envision I'll personally be using or in the 6 and 7K range a lot. With the separation in that range not being that drastically crazy. Yet again, I mean, we have actually I can just go over here and do it and look at it here. Um, we look at you look at the 7K range. Where does that thousand? Where is that $1,000 really needed? Like if we're getting off Ty Majeski, or choosing one of these guys and stuff, right? I just don't see that big of a hurdle in this range here. I mean, we're at $900 between these one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight drive, right? Is that eight? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah, like I just don't see that $1,000 like really being needed, or the money that you save from not playing Ty Majeski or Chandler Smith. Like where are you pivoting towards? I don't think Kyle Busch is a good play. Okay. He stated several times, also, secondly, I don't listen to Harvick's podcast much, or was it with, I don't remember. Kyle Busch did he was on somebody's podcast. I'm pretty sure it was Harvick. This is like, I was listening to this driving or whatever. Those are about the only times I ever listened to any of these podcasts of when, two drivers actually, it was Denny Hamlin. It was Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, duh. And Kyle flat out said, like, he's not used to not being in the fastest truck. Since he gave up KBM to Spire, there's been a decrease in the equipment, and he's doing all he can. Like, the days of Kyle Busch destroying the field is no longer there because he doesn't have the best car. That's now Corey Heim. Like, Corey Heim's in the best car. He currently has the skill and stuff. And so, getting off of Ty Majeski or Chandler Smith to go up to Kyle Busch or Lane Riggs, like, I just don't really see a reason to do that. Like the 10K range is cannibalizing each other probably more so than normal today, because Corey Heim directly defeats Kyle Busch, because Kyle Busch has to be the number one scorer on the slate to even be similar to that price tag, you know. And Figure's not gonna run away with the race to the extent that we have been seeing, or even scoring what we have been seeing, because he's been starting in the high teens. Same thing with Caden, and so like it's really your main lap leader, Chandler Smith, Ty Majeski, and then like we're not playing Hemrick, we're not playing Tyler Ankrum. If we're paying up for guys, like the AK range is unattainable for us, right? So like really, like the pool we're building with is similar to it's these guys, and then it starts at Ben Rhodes down. Yet again, I'm not really a fan of these cheap punts down here. So I don't really see a reason to purposely get off of Chandler Smith or Ty Majeski outside of just trying to get different in this contest. I think it's just going to be 3v3s for your remaining three individual drivers here. We're 43 minutes away from lock. I will go ahead and check the chit chat to see if anybody is talking or asking about anything specifically, but I think that's mainly the breakdown here. Who is what is this? Oh, my friends are asking me if I want to do iRacing stuff. Let me see what you guys are saying here. What's going on, Ross? I said hello. What's going on, Jason? Thank you so much. I'm glad that you were able to win, especially in a situation where I wasn't even able to put up projections. I just flat out just told you, who to fucking play in the Discord stuff. And I do appreciate the kind words, Alexander. I mean, Alexander has been very, very adamant on the value that he's getting from everything we're offering here at TrueDFS. Past that, I mean, Sutton at 56. I mean, yeah, my answer to anything at this point is I'm defaulting what my projections are for like the people down there. Dawson Sutton in the I mean, look at Dawson Sutton here. I mean, he's looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good on averages compared to the rest of the guys in the back of the field. Probably the best guy in the 5K range if you need to be in that range. But I'm probably going to be defaulting to what the projections are saying past that. I do appreciate you guys watching. Yet again, if you want to be involved in these types of breakdowns, because this is what I do behind the paywall, you can go ahead and join us on any of the subscriptions that we have. You can find out our website in the link in the description below. Past that, I will see you guys tomorrow and Sunday for those individual races. And yeah, good luck, guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.